Oh, yeah. You know what time it is? It is time for the dailybreadproject.com. Look, my guest is here already. This guy's not playing. I'm trying to learn how to use this mic. I listened to this thing on the podcast universe, and I'm like, good grief, it sounds pretty rough. I don't know if I'm not using the mic well, but I'll try to make it better for you guys. But that's another reason that you should just tune in, thedailybreadproject.com live on the Facebooks when we do this, and maybe you'll get better sound. I don't know, but we're running a low production budget on this one. It's straight from my mouth to your ears with no middleman. So that is why the sound quality is what it is. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring in our guest and bring this thing live so that we can rock and roll with you. I've got a very, very, very special guest. I say that about all of them, don't I? Well, this guy is special. We have done hundreds of shows together. He is the real deal. Guest, before I introduce you, I'm going to bring you live or bring you into the room. And then I'm going to bring this thing on to the Facebookers. And then we'll rock into it with a proper intro. If the technology gods allow us, grace us with the ability to go live. And I'm going to learn how to use this mic better, or I'm going to get a new mixer. I think I'm just looking for an excuse to buy a new mixer. I feel like I'm getting nerdy that way. Maybe it's all this lockdown making me want to spend some dough on some new toys. I don't know. All right, so we're connecting. Looks like it might actually work. And I can't tag this guy because he is no longer on social media. He's one of those. He's an anti-social media. Everything looks like it's going live, so we will do a proper intro, and I will bring you in my very special guest. Yes, sir. Looks like we are live. Here we go. Oh, wait, my guest. Oh, is he here? I see. I think he's here. I think he's in the room. Okay, let's do this. You are listening to the dailybreadproject.com. It's dark. It's crazy. It's scary out there. The media is pounding you over the head, beating you down, wearing you out, and wanting you to just give up. I can't let that happen. I won't let that happen. I will not let you give up. There's too much good in the world, and I'm bringing it to you here on the dailybreadproject.com every day, 10 a.m. Eastern, and I cannot do it by myself. That's why I've got to find other leaders, other heroes, other people to help lift you up. And this is what we talk about here: leadership in good and hard times, bringing the light. And today, to help me bring the light, is Mr. Doberman Dan. What is up, my man?
How you doing, JR? Good to see you again. It's been a while.
Looking good, man. Looking good.
I got a haircut just for you.
How do you get haircuts? That's a hot ticket right now. You want here? Look at this. I think you'll like this. There's
Oh
my
my
haircut.
gosh. Is that a do-it-yourself haircut?
You know it is. So you know what they say, right? It's like people have been saying, "Hey, with all this lockdown and everything, learn new skills." So my new skills are cutting my own hair, cleaning toilets, and cooking at home.
Three very valuable skills.
They're very low paying too. But Doberman Dan, if you guys don't know, Doberman Dan and I worked together for about 5 years on the Off the Chain show. His site is DobermanDan.com. He's got the Doberman Dan letter. And this guy is one of my biggest influences in doing business the right way. This guy taught me how to take care of clients, how to show people I appreciate them, and how to get them to stick around longer. All part of his superpowers. He's a high-paid copywriter, and he's an all-around good guy. That's why he's here today. So, Doberman Dan, I'll stop gushing over you. Let me give you the lay of the land. We're going to talk about power, positivity, leadership, love, and opportunity. So the first question I have for you, sir, is where do you draw your power from?
Ooh, that in itself is a powerful question. So I've run at different phases in my life, I would have answered that differently. um, Now the answer, it's funny, returning to my roots, I guess, after having gotten away from it. I got really dependent and reliant upon myself, spelled Myself, for the longest time. And that really worked out great for me for the longest time. But then I guess, at some point in your journey, most human beings will encounter the whatever you want to call it. Many mystics have called it the dark night of the soul. Some people just call it tough times, whatever you want to call it. Uh, when you're constantly reaching for more, you're going to reach a point where like yourself, spelled Yourself, just ain't enough, and your back's against the wall, and that's usually when you discover your separate word self, capital S. And many people call that different things. Maybe calling it the self with a capital S isn't your thing. You know, maybe you call it something else, whatever you want to call it. Um, Consciousness, the Eastern philosophy, people call it the Atman. Uh, some people call it God. Some people call it Buddha, Jesus, Krishna. You can call it Howard. You can call it Richard. Call it whatever you want. It's your higher power that's part of you. That's where I draw my power from.
This guy's gone deep, and I want to point this out to anyone listening, anybody here live, or anybody listening on the iTunes, the evolution. And so when I talk about podcasting for the long term, I talk about your show because your show is a perfect example. We started out talking about marketing, and we ended up talking about this higher self and higher consciousness and where you are. And I tell people, if it's not evolving with you, it doesn't work. And so this is Doberman Dan 5 years later discovering himself. So you draw that power. You've done lots of research. We talked about it tons of times. So you guys can check that out on Off the Chain. So let's now move into positivity. And I know you have your ups and downs. We all do. How do you keep yourself in a positive plane?
It's easy to do when everything's going your way. That's like, in fact, all this stuff is easy to do when everything's going great and the sun is shining and there are unicorns and rainbows and pots of gold and all that stuff. Not so easy to do when things aren't going your way. So for me, I'd be lying to you if I told you like, oh, I've conquered this, right? Like there's no down periods. I just went through a really bad one just a couple days ago. But now for me, when they used to last months or years, now they're down to days or maybe 24 hours or less. Because, I've just recognized that uh I'm in control of how I think and therefore how I feel. So it's just a matter of taking control of that regardless of circumstances. You can just choose to be positive. You can choose to be happy. Like I was just explaining to my other half, if you're waiting for things to arrive at whatever, fill in the blanks, an income level, a success level, a stress-free level, well, okay, you're going to have to die to accomplish that. And then we don't even know if it ends there. There's lots of information that says that same challenges, just in a different dimension or in a different form or whatever. So it sounds like this is so easy to do when I say it this way. It's just taking control of your thoughts, which therefore create feelings. In yeah, simple in theory, not easy to do when you just feel like crap, right? But that's what's worked for me.
I like that idea of being accountable, saying, "Hey, I have a choice in this." And so, what I want to ask to follow up on that is, you didn't always know you had control of that. So, how did you figure that out?
Well, a lot of it through reading. I read a lot, especially the past several years, like 3 years. I've really gone deep into psychology and spirituality and stuff like that. And then stuff from my past started coming together. Like this will sound crazy. Um, I don't, I don't know how to I don't know the psychological basis behind this, nor how to explain it in that way. I just have to explain it in street terms. But I got to thinking back, like, so I was a cop. I was an inner city cop for 12 years, and that involved dealing with a lot of mentals, as we called them then. Now I look back, I start to think like, I think maybe they were the sane ones and we were the insane ones. Uh, but a lot of those people, like who were delusional, were really happy in their delusions. So I started thinking, if it works for the insane, why can't it work for the sane? So I started getting delusional about stuff and just decided, when the world is crashing all around me, at least my world, and everything looks like it's going to complete crap, I'm just going to choose to be delusional. I'm going to choose like, I'm happy. This is a blessing. This is happening for a reason. This is such a valuable lesson. I'm grateful for this. I didn't, really feel that way at the time. Or like when they are telling us that this whole economic system is crashing and burning, and stuff like that. And we're going into the depression. There's more people out of work than ever before, and businesses are crashing and burning. I just decided to be delusional and decided that's their reality. That's not my reality. I'm going to create my own reality, and I'm going to be completely delusional about this and just figure like my business has doubled. And as crazy as that sounds, again, I found that my thoughts create my feelings, and then that kind of like is a self-perpetuating loop. And being delusional has worked out really well. I feel better.
There's so much there. I don't know if you guys are picking up everything that he's saying there, but there's a lot. I can't unpack it all, but I love the loop of the thoughts create feelings, and we have controls of the thoughts. So then that means we can actually take control of our feelings, and that's our gift as God's highest creation. We're not little animals running on instinct. We have an ability to go back and reflect on our thoughts, and I think that's one of the most powerful things that average ordinary people miss out on is you have a choice in that. And so I don't know, maybe I sound a little bit like a jerk, but really, come on, like we are evolved and we can choose how we feel is what I hear Doberman Dan saying, and I love it, man. So let's talk about leadership. And so I don't know, I don't think you run a big team or anything like that, but you do have lots of newsletter subscribers, lots of email subscribers, lots of people who you are leading. And I'm curious if your leadership has changed at all in these times and what is different if it has.
I hope it has. As far as like my team, every business I've had, I've deliberately kept small. Like I don't want to manage employees. That's not my thing. I really like the marketing stuff and the cracking the code and the market research and writing copy. But running a business, like I view it as a necessary evil. Like, well, I got to do some operational stuff to be able to do the marketing stuff. So I've never managed a big team of employees. But I guess you're right. Like, um, and I'm in a leadership position, albeit reluctantly, because I am an extreme introvert with my subscribers and my email list and stuff like that. So I certainly hope it has changed. I'm just going to be really transparent with you, Jonathan. And are people listening live also?
Sometimes they do. I don't know how to use the live though. Like I don't know how to interact with people, so it's limited.
Okay, so it says live on
Yeah,
Facebook.
yeah,
So
it is
I'm
live, but I don't know how many people tune in.
so I'll just be super transparent. like I used to go to events, and this even started way back before I was even in direct response marketing, when somebody got me into Amway. And we'll go to those events, and then we'll go to marketing events, and I'd see people speak from stage, and they get all this recognition, and they're like, oh, I'm the big shot. And I used to think, yeah, man, one of these days that's going to be me up there. And then it was. And then I realized, I don't want this. Um, I am not comfortable with this. These people putting me on a pedestal, I'm extremely uncomfortable with, because the only reason that I'm up on the stage is because, I failed 9 times out of 10 and endured 9 years of serial failure, probably 25 business failures or more during that period. So I never felt like I'm a big deal. And so when I got that, I wanted that. I'm just being really transparent. I wanted that. I wanted the recognition. I wanted to be on stage and toot my own horn and all that stuff. And then when that started happening, I realized, oh, wait a minute, that's not what I want. But I mean, like, that's what I thought leadership was. I'm going to put my hands on my hips, and I'm going to, here I come to save the day. And so then when I started high ticket stuff, and that didn't work out, like I had to close people on the phone, and I was miserably bad at it. It was because of that same kind of thing. Let me. Let's talk about me and my success. Oh, why you should listen to me? And that just sucked. Like, I'd be lucky to close anybody. And then I figured out, wait a minute, it's about them, isn't it? And what they want. Can I really help them? If I can't help them, why am I even going to sell them this, whatever they're asking about, coaching program or copywriting project? And I started figuring out I needed to really do some deep listening, you know, and figure out first of all, find out what they really want, and let them do most of the talking, because some people have to talk stuff out till we finally get to what they really want, and then see if it really is a match. And then if I found out that if the prospect was doing, if I was doing more than, say, 15% of the talking, nothing happened. When I let the prospect talk, that's when things clicked. And, so I think that's affected my leadership now. I don't even want to talk anymore. I'm just doing this, because this is a necessary part of getting out a message that I know is super important. But I'd much rather listen to somebody else. I'd much rather be the deep listener. And you'll appreciate this, because I know you're Catholic. That's St. Francis, by the way. And so I won't read this whole thing, but I read this like multiple times a day. I have a copy of this in various locations throughout the house, and one I carry with me also. But I mean, this pretty much sums it up. This second part: Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And that's my idea of leadership right now. I sincerely hope I'm getting close to that, or at least I'm getting closer to that. But that's my idea of leadership right now.
I don't think anybody's even talked about anything like that on the phone, on these calls, and I'm with you. Any conversation I will get into, typically out there in the world, is me trying to ask one or two questions and say as little as possible. Sales calls the same thing. I just need to know what's going on, and I I I I have not heard anybody say it, and I love that you brought in St. Francis and all that too as well, because it's true. I don't think people listen anymore. I think that's a rare gift. And to call listening leadership, like, you just blew my mind. I don't know if you guys are paying attention to this, but like, that was beautiful, Dan. Thank you for that. That was huge, because none of us have talked about leading that way, leading by listening. That's poetic, bro.
Well, it started to come together when I read, what is the book name? It's over here on my Power versus Force by David Hawkins, Dr. David Hawkins. His backstory was he had one of the largest psychology practices in the country at the time. And he had this crazy high success rate. Like, the patients who were just nobody could help. You know, medicine, nothing would help. He just had this crazy high success rate. And he talks about the levels of consciousness in that book. But basically, what it came down to, the reason for his insane success that was so high, like people wouldn't even believe it, was simply love, you know? And that got me to thinking, well, what is love? Certainly, that's even a song title. There's various song titles. Like, you know, so what is that? And how do we actually do that? Because that's leadership. That's the kind of leadership that I want to do right now. And then it really clicked when I saw this St. Francis prayer.
Good grief, man. It's almost like we scripted this, and this has happened before with us on the show. But that's my next question to you, man. And it's the question of love. And what are you seeing? What opportunities? What's going on out there right now that you absolutely love?
Um, what's going on out there right now? Well,
Or in here? It doesn't matter. Either way, just what do you love right now?
I love the fact that this shutdown has like it forced a lot of people to slow down and take stock of what's really important. Like I noticed in my neighborhood, like almost overnight, people you never saw were out with their kids every day playing in the yard. It's almost like it was a forced schedule change for the better. And that's been pretty awesome. I mean, that's a pretty awesome thing to come out of what, you know, you'd normally look at as a pretty negative situation. And I got to tell you, it's forced me to reevaluate things too. You know, like my business has not been affected. I told you I went delusional and decided, no, my business is going to double. Well, it did double in the month of April for reasons I can't even explain because I didn't do anything additional or different. It just doubled. Um, so, but so it's like I didn't have a business slowdown, but I did have to take a step back and think when this all started, like, okay, I've been through this before a couple different times in business. What am I going to do if, let's say, things are cut in half, like my supplement business was in 2008, or worse? Let's say this whole thing crashes and burns, you know? And I just had to remind myself of all the study I've been doing and the inner work I've been doing. And like, I'm going to accept what comes, right? Because there's stuff I can't control. What I can control is my reaction to it. And I think I'm just going to take Gandhi's advice when he asked to sum up, like, can you sum up the whole Bhagavad Gita? You know, the Hindu, the famous Hindu book and scripture, spiritual book. And he said, yeah, I can sum it up in two words: renounce and enjoy. You know, just like detachment, detach yourself from that stuff and just make the decision like, I'm just going to be content. And I guess it was good that this situation has forced me to take another look at that stuff. And obviously a lot of people too.
I think I got this from one of your shows, the Off the Chain show. I don't know which show it was. We did so many. But what I heard you say right there, and I've been practicing this since I heard it on your show, was the idea of surrender. Like there's stuff that is in our control, like you building your business, you delivering emails, you delivering newsletters, all that stuff's in your control. But the economy shutting down and your business doubling, all out of your control, surrender. And that I think is a beautiful thing, is knowing when to let go and what to let go of, because most people cling to things that they can't hold on to, and it's a shame. So last question as we're wrapping up here, this is the biggie. 5 years from now, we're looking back at this time. How do you want to be remembered, Doberman Dan?
It would be nice to even think that I would be remembered. um, seems like our lives are almost like a fart in the wind, you know? We come and we go and we're forgotten as soon as we're gone. Uh, Boy, this is shooting really high, but if I'm gonna shoot for something, let's shoot for the moon, right? I guess in the past I would want to be remembered for I'm the guy who taught people how to be entrepreneurs or taught them how to do marketing or how to make money. Um, I think I'd like to be remembered as uh, a guy who just sincerely, to the best of his human abilities, loved people.
Man, you have come a long way. Doberman Dan, ladies and gentlemen, DobermanDan.com. I think the other one is DobermanDanLetter.com, the actual newsletter. Hopefully, I'm getting that right. Off the Chain Show, you can still find him on iTunes, still up there. You can find it on our website and his website. So, all over the place, you can get love from Doberman Dan. Dude, thank you for bringing the light today. I appreciate you greatly. And, I always love to spend time with you and watch your growth and feel like I've been a part of that journey and watching it for so long. So I just thank you. That's all I can say is thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, DobermanDan.com is where you find this guy. This is the Daily Bread Project.com. You can find the videos and the latest episodes and all the links there. And we're coming to you at 10 a.m. Eastern, 4 days a week now. I've toned it down to 4 days a week. And if you loved this episode, if you got a little something from this episode, be a hero, share it. Thank you so much, Dan.
Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate the invitation.
Ciao.